Morning, everybody. Thank you for attending today. Today we are going to be focusing on how to power up your multi-hub, or in layman's terms, how you compare the different hubs and how they complement each other. We'll be discussing everything from the marketing hub all the way through to the newest hub, which is the operations hub, and how having multiple different hubs can benefit your business. We have had a lot of interest in this topic, and like I said just before, it is slightly different to what we normally do, but it's great to have a turnout today. We've got Meg, who's our marketing manager, on hand, who's going to be feeding in a number of resources as ever, and obviously we've got the chat pane for any questions that come through, which will be setting aside some time at the end to go through those questions. And just so everybody is aware, there will also be an online copy available of this webinar in the coming days. So if you enjoy the session, you want to send it across to your teams to have a watch and listen, please feel free to do so. Or if you've got a hard stop at past or whatever time, just so you know that that recording will be available for you to digest at a later period as well. So again, thank you so much for attending, everyone. It's great to see this turnout for the virtual event. I'm Hugh. If you don't know me, I'm the head of strategy here at Prodo. So I've been at Prodo Digital now for over 2 years, and I've been leading the new business sales team here. My job role is essentially to explore with businesses how HubSpot can support your business objective and goals. We work with a variety of clients and prospects in an array of industries who are looking for a solution such as HubSpot, or are looking to see how their HubSpot instance can be improved to achieve their goals. So that's why this topic for me is a great thing to discuss about. So we're going to talk about two different things this morning. I'm going to be talking about why HubSpot exists, giving you that brief overview of all of the key hubs HubSpot has to offer. And then I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Sam. Sam is our senior technical digital strategist, bit of a mouthful, but he's going to be discussing pairing up how they can effectively benefit your business. Sam, do you want to give a quick introduction to yourself and some of the pairings the audience can expect to see today?
Yeah, cheers, thank you. So yeah, I'm Sam. I sit on the technical team at Prodo. Essentially, my role today will be on the back of what Hugh's saying in terms of all the different hubs you've got available in HubSpot. It's very much applicable for those that may be looking at expanding their hubs to see what's out there and how HubSpot can help. But it's very much understanding if you currently have a hub, how to fully utilize it in conjunction with the other kind of hubs that you can add onto it. In terms of a bit of background, I've been at Prodo now for just over a year. I've worked in several agencies servicing HubSpot. So I'd like to think that we can get some efficiencies or some good ideas flowing in this HubSpot user group.
Sam, you're too modest. Sam is in the top 1% of HubSpot users in the world. So he knows everything inside or out. I always say everybody else is mere mortals in comparison to Sam's technical understanding of HubSpot. But at the end, as ever, sorry, Sam, what were you saying?
Just going to say a bit of pressure there, but you know, adds a bit of spice to this one.
Of course, it's what we like to do, put you under a bit of pressure. At the end, you're always going to have the chance to ask your questions related to today's topic. But like I said, don't feel like you need to wait. Pop them in the Q&A channel. Meg is going to be picking them up as we go along. And Meg, thanks for as putting this together for this event. Just before we get into today, I thought it'd just be useful for anybody who is new to our Liverpool HubSpot user group or hasn't attended before to know a little bit more about Prodo and what we do. We are a full-service digital agency, and we've been around since 1998. We are currently a HubSpot Diamond partner, and we're also an Umbraco Gold partner, which is a CMS platform that we use. And we are the only agency who hold both of these statuses in the UK. Outside of HubSpot, we work on numerous website and portal builds, as well as building innovative technologies for a variety of sectors. But we have been now a HubSpot partner for 6 or 7 years. We are currently at Diamond status, and we have a range of solutions that we can provide. Everything from onboarding, integrations, inbound marketing campaigns, CMS development, and much, much more. In 2020, we were ranked 3rd in EMEA for the Customer First Award, which is based on our customer length and adoption. So it's something that we're proud of. And we've currently run the Liverpool Hub for the past 5 years. So anybody that hasn't been, we normally share a topic for the audience, and then you can learn more about the HubSpot system to take away and implement or improve upon. If you have missed one of our webinars before, you can always catch up. We have a video hub where you can catch up on some of the great learnings from closed loop reporting all the way through to account-based marketing, chatbots, lead scoring, and much, much more. And we have our next HubSpot user group event penciled in. Meg, is it the 22nd of June?
Yes, 22nd of June. We don't have a topic lined up yet, though.
No topic lined up yet, so it'd be great if there is anything in particular on HubSpot that you want us to discuss. We will take that in mind. We'll take that away. We're always keen to implement something from the audience for our HubSpot user group events. So please feel free to put that in the chat pane as well. And a lot of the reasons why a lot of people join our sessions is we do give away quite a few gifts. So throughout today's sessions, we're going to be doing a fastest fingers first quiz. So keep your eyes and ears open for a slide that looks like this one, where we'll be quizzing you, and whoever answers fastest correctly will win a £20 gift card. But on to today. So I'm going to start us off with an overview of HubSpot, why it was created, and all of the different hubs. So firstly, over time, the customer journey has transformed with the digital revolution, and how it has changed over the years is really quite staggering. But now the internet is the first place to go for most purchases. So if we look at the customer journey from the screen here, it can be extremely complex with multiple different touch points. Now, how your customer becomes from being an anonymous visitor of your website through to becoming a customer and ultimately a promoter of your brand has changed significantly. And more often than not, what businesses have to do is invest in a variety of technologies to ensure that they reach their customers, from a CMS platform, an automation platform, sales software, reporting, and even service platforms as well. But what the most successful companies are doing is they have that real focus around that overall customer experience. So that's why they invest in so many different technologies. But how do you do that, essentially? How would you be able to do that? Well, for most companies, like I said, they invest in a variety of technology platforms, as you can see here. So this is just an example, but you can have a CMS platform such as WordPress, and then you can look to engage with your web visitors using a messaging platform like Intercom to make your visitors then become leads, and then use Autopilot to automate your marketing function. And the list keeps going on and on and on, and you can keep adding to that technology stack, which can become difficult to manage. And the challenges that your business will face here is that you have different systems for each area. So how are you finding your central source of truth? And secondly, your systems might not be talking to each other effectively. So that can mean that you might not be making the right decisions or understanding your full customer journey. So what's the solution? Well, there's one area is investing in a platform like Salesforce. They have a variety of technology platforms that they've acquired, but by using the acquisition approach like Salesforce have done, you can have issues such as legacy platforms, combining multiple solutions that cover broad areas. Therefore, are we utilizing the platform to its best potential? And also there's that potential fragmented point solutions. So what is the impact for your business if you do go down the route such as a Salesforce route? Well, the impact that you can have is disconnected data and systems, which makes it harder to align, a clunky UI and UX, so it makes it harder to adopt internally, and internal silos, which makes it harder to adapt. And those three areas can lead to fragmented customer experiences, which is obviously the key thing, was it's all around the customer journey, frustrated internal teams, and then finally friction as you try to grow your business. So there is another solution to the issue, and of course it wouldn't be a HubSpot user group if we didn't suggest HubSpot. Now, technology at its best can bring data, processes, and teams all together. And what that can do is it create efficiencies, it can facilitate necessary pivots, save money, and power scalable strategies and systems. And this is what HubSpot CRM platform does. It's a single source of truth that empowers front office teams to deepen their relationships with customers and provide a best-in-class experience. Now, HubSpot brings together the 5 elements of customer experience into one unified code base, with the full customer experience at the center of it all. So that means that we've got content to speak to customers, We've got messaging to engage with them. We've got automation to streamline touch points. We've got reporting to set the strategy, and we've got data to track the end-to-end experience. So moving on, we've got our first quiz question lined up for you. So how many hubs are there in HubSpot? Meg, I'm going to allow you to be able to navigate between all of the different chats.
So John was on that before we even got the question in the quiz, the chat pane. So well done, John. The answer is, I've started off really easy with this one. The answer is 5. So thank you, John.
So this is what we're going to be going on to next, is all of the different hubs and their key benefit. And I want to just keep this very as a top line overview. And the reason, because I know a lot of you will already have one or multiple of the hubs, but we're going to be talking through the marketing hub, the sales hub, the service hub, the CMS hub, and the operations hub. So the HubSpot Suite can provide your business with a single source of truth, which can improve the buyer experience with comprehensive customer records. It can provide one intuitive UX, which can reduce the total cost of ownership through a strategic consolidation of customer tech. And it can also provide your business with a unified code base, which will enable you to adapt and stay in sync without silos and grow without growing pains. So what are the hubs about and how can it benefit your business? Let's start with the marketing hub. The marketing hub is designed to help attract the attention of your desired buyers using the out-of-box functionality such as the blogs, the video, the social media, the SEO, and the ads tool to make your website visitors become interested in your brand and your product. But then the marketing hub goes that level deeper because it also helps convert these visitors into leads through automation, email marketing, landing pages, forms, and much more to support your sales teams. And with that, you can also report on your marketing effectiveness through campaign reporting using traffic analytics and attribution reporting as well. The marketing hub is probably one of the best selling points of HubSpot, and it's where it initially started out, and then they've continued to sort of grow and expand from there. So I'm sure most of our audience today are using the marketing hub. But if not, I'd be interested to know the reasons why you're not using it, or if there's a reason why you'd use other technologies outside of that, if you're already part of the HubSpot suite. For Sales Hub, when you have got those leads fed from marketing, you can utilize the features inside of HubSpot to start and deepen relationships. You have the out-of-box integrations with Gmail and Outlook, making it easy for your sales team to keep on track of your prospects through the attached CRM, which always comes as free with HubSpot. But in addition to that, it helps sales teams prospect more effectively with tools like the sequences tools and task automation, as well as supporting enhancing relationships with your prospects through like the meetings links and live chat as well. And whilst you can manage your pipeline in a single system where you can see individual performances and start to forecast how effective your sales teams are actively working as well. Sales Hub comes with a number of out-of-the-box reports so that you can really start to dig into how your sales team are performing and see if there are any efficiencies that you can gain. And similarly, like with the Marketing Hub, if you do have the Sales Hub, you can start to automate some of your pipeline as well, meaning that in a sales process, a lot of the fish aren't falling through the net. You're consistently standardizing that process if you're using automation and other things that come out of the box with the pipeline as well. Once we've then converted a website visitor to a lead, nurtured them to a sales qualified lead using automation and email marketing, and then sales have successfully closed the deal using the tools at their disposal, Service Hub can then be a great addition to the business to deepen your customer relationships and convert your customers into being the biggest promoters of your brand. So how can you do this by using Service Hub? Well, you can utilize some of their features such as the customer portal, the knowledge base, even a ticketing system to manage their inquiries, or you can simply use it to take a pulse on their overall journey by using the surveys feature. From here, the Survey Hub is really powerful because you can see the whole end-to-end journey of your customer from prospect through to customer inside of one system. Now, HubSpot as well, if we move on to the CMS hub, they've gone on leaps and bounds from when they first started. And now they have one of the most powerful CMSs in the world to compete with the likes of WordPress. But why should your business take out the CMS hub? Well, first of all, it goes back to that single source of truth. Now, HubSpot is brilliant because it also connects with a variety of platforms and CMSs natively, because they are not naive enough to think that everyone will adopt the approach of using the full suite of tools, but they are starting to show the world why this should potentially be on your roadmap. And the HubSpot CMS is an excellent CMS platform to be able to build a drag and drop website where you can seamlessly grow your business with minimum effort, but maximum potential. You can also optimize and personalize your site using the functionality of the Marketing Hub to alter pages on your website, depending on what you have stored on the contact inside of your CRM, such as the smart content features. And you can also benefit from the SEO recommendations built in. And the great thing about the CMS Hub as well is you don't need to worry about SSL certificates or hosting, because it all comes as part of your subscription. And we recently did another webinar. It's a different series of ours called Web Wrapped, where we talked about the key differences between WordPress and HubSpot CMS. So if anybody would like to catch up on that, we can always send you through the recording of that as well. And finally, the Operations Hub, the latest addition to HubSpot. Like I said like on the last slide, HubSpot isn't naive enough to think that you will use the system for absolutely everything. And there's also a number of cases for businesses which will require additional systems. So it's a given, but the Operations Hub enables you to sync and clear customer data with over 1,000 integrations where you can get real-time data and two-way data sync, field mapping and data deduplication, and also allow you to automate every process using custom code-based workflow actions, webhooks, and quality automation. So HubSpot's approach to product development takes the critical elements of customer experience management, content, messaging, automation, data, and reporting, and brings them into a single platform that's built to grow with your company. Each HubSpot product is powerful, but the real magic happens when you start to use them together, which is what I'm going to be passing over to Sam in a second to discuss those pairings. But before I pass over to Sam, we do have one more quiz question. So again, fastest fingers first. Which hub is the newest addition to the suite?
Oh, John, I think we're going to have to we're going to have to do something to slow you down, mate. You were fastest finger first again, and the answer is A, Ops Hub.
Well done, John.
Everyone got that one right near enough, though.
Sure.
Can we kick John?
Listening, which is always good. Thanks everyone for listening to me this morning. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hand over the sharing screen to Sam so he can navigate his way through the slides. But thanks for listening. And yeah, Ryan, we can try and kick John.
Good stuff. So yeah, cheers for that, Hugh. I think it was a really good overview of essentially HubSpot in terms of the different products that it's got available. Again, lots of exciting updates that we'll go into shortly in terms of how to take those and basically how to go about pairing those together as well. So I guess my segment in this is talking about, we know what the products are, we know how HubSpot works as a suite of products, but how can we utilize those? What are the stats that kind of back up all the nice visuals that we've seen on screen, as well as some kind of discussion points around some of the tools and how they can work really well together. So let's start off with the Marketing and Sales Hub. The Marketing and Sales Hub is probably one of the most popular combinations of the hubs, predominantly from HubSpot starting out as a marketing tool and then branching out to the CRM. What we often find is that customers with both marketing and sales often see a 74% increase in deal close rates after 12 months based on HubSpot statistics. And the reason for this is because of the shared collaboration and transparency across the actual two hubs themselves. So by utilizing both the marketing and the sales hubs, you have various, and the main one that I really touch on when I speak to people utilizing these hubs is it really does create seamless handovers via the use of workflows, the activity timeline on records, just having more data points to basically centralize all that really enriched buyer activity as well. So any kind of website pages that come through your tracking code or marketing touch points are put front and center for your sales teams to then reference in contextual kind of conversations as well. Meaning that if I'm in a discussion with a prospect around my opportunity or a certain product or service, I can also reference knowing what they've been sent from marketing, as well as what they've been engaged with, whether that's viewing a particular website page, interacting with a certain marketing email, or even just from a source attribution, so knowing if they came through ads as well. So one of the biggest kind of seamless handover is actually the attribution behind how much of the actual touch point came from a marketing as well as sales, which I know can often be a pain point in terms of lead ownership within most organizations. The second of which is around building reliable and trusted relationships, kind of ties into the previous point by having that enriched data kind of flow and having that timeline of activity from both a marketing as well as a sales perspective, being able to see what meetings have been booked in, what notes, what one-to-one emails have been sent. It allows you not only to grow the relationship internally, but also with the end consumer as well. And what you can do is, knowing that you've got a CRM on the back of HubSpot, is you can build lists for both your sales team, which are actively updated as they engage with marketing. So what we often find is we may create a list of active prospects in HubSpot that we know our sales team are engaging with via deals, and exclude that from maybe certain marketing comms, which may promote certain discounts, promotional offers, because we don't want to ruin the momentum or traction that potential sale may have. What you also have the ability to do is, by having your ownership in your CRM and sales process and having kind of deal ownership, contact ownership, you can actually leverage this in your A/B and testing. So you can actually put personalization tokens in your marketing to really have contextual, hyper-relevant communications, even from a marketing perspective. So if you're sending that customer newsletter, being able to reference who's actually speaking to the lead on a day-to-day basis, rather than having to send a general send address, or even putting A/B testing tools in place, such as a video or some sales enablement tools to kind of keep that conversation going. And last but not least, it all kind of comes back to this, is creating the actual customer experience. So being able to reference the 2 data points in terms of, if we know they open a marketing email, we can leverage that in sales automation. If we know they've had a meeting booked, we can leverage that in kind of, again, marketing information, in terms of being able to really have those contextual dates and touch point across the customer journey, which you may often kind of lack with having disparate systems as well. By utilizing ABM that was recently rolled out with HubSpot, you can actually see the traction you're making from a sales perspective with certain accounts, but also how marketing's pushing that towards in the form of attribution. So we've started off with marketing and sales. What happens when we add service into the mix? Well, what we often see is that customers who have sales and service hubs see 124% increase in deals that go on to closed won after 12 months. And the reason for that is because you've kind of got the pre-sales element, you've got the amplification of your messaging from the marketing side, but then you've got the service hub that you can actually add on to your kind of tech stack by centralizing HubSpot. And what that allows you to do is it brings in brings in aspects such as tasks, notifications, and also having seamless handoff. So let's say that we have a sales pipeline in HubSpot using the Sales Hub. We may then want to have another pipeline that's not sales orientated, it's not tied to revenue. So at the point a deal goes into close won, we may want a ticket pipeline to book in resource or hand over to an account manager, which is more of an internal process. So we can use customer service for actually improving the experience both internally and for the end user as well. Furthermore, a common use case is you may go through a B2B and you may have like a complaints for existing services or a pre-service. You may want a service pipeline to handle that as well. So you've got your sales pipeline and your service pipeline as well. So you can actually correspond complaints against initial sales and lifetime value as well. So again, bringing feedback into the mix really helps you paint that Picasso of a picture when it comes to HubSpot. When it comes to like building the connected relationships, you can actually use the meeting tools within HubSpot. So in the Sales Hub, you can have meetings, which is an interactive calendar that you can either embed on a page or use in one-to-one communication. But then what you could do is, if you know someone has booked in a meeting or had a meeting, use automation from the Service Hub to send them a feedback survey to actually get that granularity in terms of how they found that appointment, how they found that quarterly sit down, how they found that yearly review if it's with a customer. By having that, you're kind of tying the two kind of tool sets together to give you that full picture end to end. So while sales is all around lifetime value of a contact, service brings in the sentiment and the lifetime sentiment of a contact as well, and seeing basically where your peaks and troughs of an organization typically lies. And I guess it all comes back to this last point, which is treating customers as human beings. So being able to use the snippets within service. So with service, you can centralize all your form submissions, your live chats, your tickets. So if you've got a ticket form, into one central place in a conversation inbox. But that doesn't stop you from leveraging the productivity tools on the sales side in the form of snippets, templates when responding to these comms at a front desk perspective as well. Meaning that by working together as a unified kind of function, you can create a library of common snippets that are often used. This may be terms and conditions, it may be SLAs, it may be lead times, that both your sales and your service functions can all use in conjunction together as well. Having a shared library of assets for basically enablement across the organization. So let's now move on to, okay, we've talked about service, sales, and marketing. How does the marketing interact with the CMS? And quite simply put, customers with both a marketing or a CMS hub see 180% greater growth in inbound leads than customers with only the marketing hub. There's a few reasons for that. The main one is that it really does help marketing teams work quicker and more efficiently. So where Hugh was mentioning disparate systems in the form of maybe WordPress, where you've got a custom build in terms of how you set your website up, you may require a developer to actually make certain changes to your website pages, which you know would prove to go on to convert. Whereas by having the CMS hub, everything's built in a modular fashion and a responsive one at that, meaning that you can actually leverage the HubSpot marketplace for preset modules that maybe you don't have that developer resource to go and implement, but you know may drive conversion, such as a countdown clock on a landing page or a website page for that matter. HubSpot has a library of both integrations as well as modules that you can look to reuse, leverage, or even adapt. So take it as a fundamental code base and build that out as well. And how that comes into it is by being able to use the marketing hub and the CMS is, rather than just having a standard landing page or a website page for that matter, you can actually enable the A/B testing because you've got a database on the back of it, meaning that you can easily set up A/B tests and track that not just to the visitor on what version they saw, but to which known contact and what version they particularly saw. So if we find that actually the predominant winner of this website page was version A, we can actually attribute that back to even the quality of the people that saw A that led to it winning. And we may find that even though A was more engaged with, the quality of customer or contact may not have been to the same degree of the segment from the second test as well. So it gives you that added kind of view on basically sentiment and quality of your database as well. Again, you've got the actual out-of-the-box lead generation tools. So everything that you can use from a marketing perspective. So forms, pop-up notifications, live chat, even SEO. So if you're not a wizard on SEO and you're not in terms of being able to line by line explain a site audit, HubSpot allows you to do that and puts it into fundamental everyday terms, which I know Hugh's a big fan of, which he, again, doesn't like me referencing being in the top 1% on that, so I like to keep everything simple. But again, it allows you to basically centralize all your tools and use that in the CMS as well, meaning that where you would normally have crawl issues and certain code amendments you need to make, HubSpot translates that into basically what the action item is and who that needs to go to, meaning that you can quickly address any kind of site downs, site issues, which is really hampering your ultimate your marketing. And last but not least, you're creating those personal experience. You have basically all these touch points by going through just one ecosystem of HubSpot. Every interaction is captured in your CRM, meaning that the website page, page scrolls, if you're using video, HubSpot video, how much of percentage of video they're watching on your website stores back onto the actual timeline as well. Meaning that if someone's watched a sales-orientated video on the actual website, we can use that in marketing lists, but we can also use that as a sales team to leverage that as well. But typically what we see is 80% more organic traffic, 51% more form submissions, and 121 more contacts at the end of the day. Because having that transparency is what makes things hyper-contextual. And I guess this leads me on to a nice, in terms of cleaning up data, in terms of how the Marketing Hub and the newly released Operations Hub work together. And ultimately, it comes down to the better quality and basically data you have, the better marketing and touch points you can have with a customer as well. It's all well and good having all these tools from a service, a sales, a website perspective, if your trigger points aren't quite there, because that leads to missed messages or even the mismeaning in terms of how you want to convey a certain message. And that's what the Operation Hub helps you do. So what the actual marketing and Operations Hub allows you to do is create customer-centric experience, which is connected by clean data. And that's the key word, clean. So by being able to integrate the wider tech stack, commonly used platforms. So we talked around maybe WordPress, we talked about MailChimp, all these common kind of substitutes that maybe HubSpot commercially isn't viable for you. You can integrate these into your existing hubs without having encompassing a cost, meaning that you may not use the full stack in HubSpot, but you can still have visibility of how these other systems are doing. And you can still create lists, you can still create workflows on the back of these that reference these points, even if you're not actively doing it. So as of right now, I think there's over 100 different integrations that you can bring in, from marketing, so that could be like Hotjar, to website, which could be anything like Calendly if you wanted a meetings alternative, all the way in terms of like CPQ, in terms of contract proposal, quotes, in terms of like contracts. So again, by bringing this in, you're having more data points from an operational manner as well. So by using these one-click integrations, you're just giving yourself an abundance of options to have more customer relevant experiences as well. In terms of the other pull, in terms of the Operations Hub, is that you can actually work a lot smarter, meaning that your internal teams can use these kind of business ops for more consistent data, meaning that if a system doesn't typically integrate with HubSpot, the Operations Hub allows you to use webhooks in your automation as well. So if there's a webhook accessible for a platform that doesn't natively integrate, you can still access that as well and use that through automated internal workflows. So even if it's not a one-click integration, so to speak, you can still have visibility of these systems from an operational perspective as well, eliminating that need for imports and exports of data between systems, which obviously brings up privacy and security-based concerns as well. And lastly, it comes back to this. Every function talks to me about this, which is reporting. The more systems you have in, the more data points, the more abundance of fields you've got, the better and more granular your reporting can go. Whether that's how many touch points it takes from someone to become an anonymous website session all the way to becoming a promoter and submit a feedback. By having that kind of systematic, kind of integrated approach, it allows you to basically have that granularity in terms of how many days does it take from us to convert a lead, to convert it to an MQL, to convert it to a closed won opportunity, to convert it to an ultimate promoter as well. And also, what are LSLAs are we in that? And by having that, not just from a marketing, sales, and service perspective, which it typically always has been, now an operational perspective can actually use HubSpot to leverage certain prompts in terms of resource. Do we need to employ in certain areas because our days to close? Do we have enough sales members to actually push the amount of days that we need to actually close opportunities as well? So again, it can actually inform more operational based decisions, not just marketing and sales enablement based ones. So kind of recapping, a lot of what we've covered here is customers with the base essentials in terms of sales and marketing hub typically see 74% increase in deal close rates. Customers who have sales and service typically see 124% increase in deals that go on to be closed won, especially when it comes to renewal-based processes. And lastly, customers with a marketing or CMS hub often do see an increase of 183% growth in inbound leads, courtesy of HubSpot as well. So I guess when it all comes down to it, there's so many tools in HubSpot, and the way that it integrates together is it formulates a very much circular approach, meaning that there's no set way to come into. You could bring a contact through the sales hub, you can bring it in through the service hub. They're all going to go in this circular loop of basically data. And the quicker that people go through the hubs, the better the velocity. And it can bring down basically your days to close, which ultimately can really impact basically the 51% greater increase in deals closed won than customers who typically have fewer hubs. But fear not, again, there are the going down the HubSpot route, which is having all these hubs, but just starting by integrating some of your wider tech stacks you may not be aware of through the ecosystem is always a good start. And as always, if anything, any of the examples or any of the touch points I've talked about today, if it interested you, you can always take a free trial out within your portal to test certain hubs and how they may either replace or mitigate or supplement what you already have. So again, we can always open up a conversation around demoing certain hubs or taking out potentially a free trial of the hubs and starting off with a free version to see what solution is ultimately right for you. And I'll pass back over to you.
Thanks, Sam. Just bear with me, everyone, whilst I share my screen again. I think you raised a number of good points. To be honest, a lot of the conversations that I have in my position are mainly around pairing either marketing and sales hub together or the CMS and marketing together. Obviously, we do have conversations which are the whole growth suite, but those are typically the main conversations that we have. From personal experience, when dealing with marketing and sales together, the one question I always ask businesses is, have you documented what your marketing and sales handoff process is? i.e., do we know what the qualification metric is for an MQL versus an SQL? And that really is the starting point to making sure that that's going to be a successful journey. But I will back and reshare my screen, because that is something that you can internally do or have conversations with ourselves if you're stuck around that as well. But those are the critical steps that you need to take in place if it's going to be a success for the business. If you're thinking, if I throw money and buy another subscription, it's going to solve our problems, it's not that case. There does need to be that thought process and that strategy that goes behind it, which I'm sure you will all be thinking about anyway. But the first question that I'd always ask is, if you're looking at linking in both marketing and sales, is what is our handoff process? You know, when can we pass over that lead to sales? What is a sales accepted lead? And then start to work back from there. But thanks, Sam. It was really great to hear those pairings. And, you know, as ever, guys, you know, we do offer a free portal audit for all of our prospects, all of our customers. So if you do want to have a review on how you're utilizing the system at the moment, please do get in touch. We're more than happy to get that done for you as soon as possible. And that leads us on to the last fastest finger first of the day, if my computer allows me to change the slide. John, I hope you're ready. Percentage increase in deals closed under Hubspot customers with all 5 hubs C.
Hey, we've got a new winner. Well done, Giorgio. Fastest finger was, the answer is C, 51% increase in deals closed won. So well done, Giorgio. I'll reach out to you directly.
Well done, Giorgio. It's good to see John win the final one of the day. Always next time, John, we could get a full house. But no, we wanted to open up the floor if we had any questions that have come through for Sam or myself to answer. So please do drop those into the chat pane. But Meg, has there been any that filtered throughout sort of the webinar?
Yeah, we had a few people early on. There was kind of quite a lot of interest around Service Hub. Matt had a good question around whether or not is it a good tool for B2B or is it more predominantly B2C? I don't know whether or not, Sam, you've got any kind of initial thoughts on that.
So I've worked with both in terms of the approach from a B2B or a B2C perspective, and Service Hub quite simply can work for both. The tickets pipeline is a very well utilized tool within the Service Hub to formulate processes. Take Prodo as an example. We are a B2B typical based agency. We still use the Service Hub quite heavily in terms of having internal processes built into ticket pipelines. We also have maybe complaints or general email addresses which we use in marketing from even B2B businesses that we connect via conversations inboxes to just have shared visibility. So I think that whilst customer service, when we mention that, it's very, to the individual. But if you've got customers at the end of the day, all these tools can be tailored around the B2B based approach as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think we use a lot of the custom survey features as well, don't we? I think, like you say, a customer is a customer, regardless if they're B2B or B2C. We have another question from John around whether or not is it possible to have different hubs pair across 2 business units?
Yes. So 2 answers to this. So the short answer is yes, it can be done in terms of basically In your HubSpot, there is a field called business units, which filters down your contacts and certain assets to particular brands in that case, which you can also use as kind of triggers between the hubs. So for example, if you're doing what automation, the service hub that's relying on the sales hub, but you only want certain business unit based data to go through it, you can bake that into it. Now, if it was a case of, for this business unit, we only want to use this kind of hub, there's a separate conversation there. Is that an new portal altogether? But typically 90% of the time, you leverage the business unit field in HubSpot, bake that into your triggers for your different automation as that handoff happens into sales-based automation, service, or even reporting. So you can exclude that particular partition of data as well. So yeah, make use of that field is the quick answer.
Hopefully that answers your question, John. And then we just had one in from Liam. Do you have any advice on when a marketing lead should be handed off to sales? It's a big open-ended.
I'll take that one if you want, Sam. The way that I would always perceive this, Liam, is I'd be first of all speaking to your sales team, and the question that I pose to them is, what is the minimum criteria that they would accept the sales lead? And that the crucial bit is the minimum criteria. I'm a salesperson, and obviously I'd love to have as much information as possible around a prospect when they're looking to book into my diary or being handed over from Meg. However, you've got to think from a sales perspective, what is the absolute minimum amount of data that I require to speak to that individual? And then that's where you will be able to say that is the cutoff point. That is an agreed upon decision between sales and marketing. And then you'll be able to support from there. And I've just seen another one come in here. Do you have a favorite HubSpot integration for reporting purposes?
You don't want to take that one, Hugh? No,
no, I'll leave that with you, Sam, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah, so I have a favorite one personally. I've not used every integration, that's the disclaimer. I use Databox quite heavily as basically more of a customer-friendly BI platform, which allows you to integrate not just HubSpot-based reports, but also your wider Google Analytics search consoles onto one central dashboard, as well as creating goals based on those metrics as well, because HubSpot's reporting when it comes to goals isn't quite as advanced as what certain BI systems are. So my quick answer is Databox is something to look into if you're looking for a bit of an report integration. But there are obvious solutions out there in terms of BI, and I know HubSpot are looking into Microsoft BI as well, in terms of Power BI as well.
Good stuff. We did have one in from Ahmed. Is there a downside of using a one-size-fits-all tool like HubSpot that are not necessarily specialist, high-quality tools versus using specialist tools like WP, Intercom, etc. individually?
So on this one, what I would say is it ultimately comes down to the systems that you've got at the moment, how much you're fully utilizing them. Let's say that, I know there's a few comments around Zendesk in terms of these are leaders in their field for a reason, but they fall down when it comes to shared data. Now, if you are fully utilizing Zendesk to the nth degree of using every single tool, every single piece of data in there, probably HubSpot isn't the best fit, but HubSpot is there for the generalist in terms of being able to centralize that data for more general elements. But for some integrations, I would advise maybe using the specialist platforms and integrating via data sync, depending on the quality of the sync. But it ultimately comes down to, of this commercial plan you're paying for this specialist piece of software, what tools are we actually using? Does HubSpot have a substitute, and what are the limitations for doing that as well? So it's a bit more of a commercial fact-finding exercise to go through.
Yeah, Lisa's got it. Thanks. So thank you, Sam. Well answered. I think that's all for questions, unless there's any final takers.
Good stuff.
I think we've covered a lot today.
Well, look, we really appreciate everybody's time today. Thanks very much for joining today. Hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll speak to you all very soon, hopefully.